we wanted to share what happens when you get a little bird really, really dirty. The suggested cleaning interval for a little bird is every 300 to 500 rounds. What we're getting ready to show you goes well beyond the scope of a performance test and really gets into a torture test. We don't recommend doing any of these things with your little bird, but we wanted to show you what kind of abuse it could put up with and how dirty you could really get it and still be able to clean it effectively. So this little bird was randomly selected off the production line. Wasn't cherry picked, went into the stock room, grabbed a random one that was being packaged. Unlike centerfire suppressors, which are by and large kept clean by all that heat and pressure, rimfire suppressors need to be cleaned in regular intervals. This is especially true because most bulk rimfire ammunition is unjacketed or has really thin jackets that don't prevent much of the lead from scraping off or blowing apart inside the can and creating a mess. We'll show you how much lead can get stuck in one of these over the course of about 1,250 rounds. So the first thing we did when we got out to the range is we threaded the little bird onto the CZ457 and shot a 100-yard group. Next, we screwed it onto a Walther PPQ-22 and shot a whole brick of Remington Thunderbolt through it. Thunderbolt's unjacketed, and it's notorious for being incredibly dirty. Hey, shout out to Walther. That PPQ-22 ran literally that entire brick with only 2 very minor malfunctions. Over the course of this test, the little bird got hot, but not so hot that you couldn't grab it. After that went swimmingly, we went ahead and threaded it onto a Ruger Mark III. Now this Ruger's been through a lot of abuse. It's been our test bench for many, many little birds. The magazines in particular were sort of gummed up, so it didn't run that well. However, we went ahead and shot a brick of Aguila Super Velocity, also notoriously dirty. We did choose to shoot these 2 bricks of bulk ammunition through the little bird on pistol hosts because they're particularly dirty. The barrel's very short, so we get a lot of unburnt powder, significant amount of carbon and things like that that's going to build up inside the suppressor. So again, this is not a performance test. This is a torture test. We certainly wouldn't recommend treating your little bird or any other rimfire suppressor this way. Next, we threw the little bird back onto the CZ457, went back to 100 yards, and shot another group. We did that to see if anything changed over the course of firing these 2 bricks through it. As you can see, if anything, the group was tighter. Now, we weren't firing these groups for extreme precision, set down maybe around every 2 seconds just to get something on paper, but it certainly didn't spread out at all. When we got back to the shop, we went ahead and threaded this onto a 22 machine gun. This was a CMMG conversion kit on a machine gun lower, and we put about 250 rounds through it in full auto. The little bird, even as dirty as it was, performed exceedingly well. And finally, we put the little bird back on the CZ457 for one final time to take some dB readings with the B&K pulse analyzer. We went ahead and shot a relatively unused demo little bird to compare what this sort of abuse did to the performance. And as promised, to give this test context, we also shot it next to a Silencer Co. Warlock. You can see the results here. All right, so before we get in here and clean this, I want to weigh this thing. So our little bird is advertised at 2.8 ounces. For whatever reason, this new one weighed 2.7 today. Compared to the dirty bird, 3.2 ounces. That's around half an ounce of lead and carbon built up inside this suppressor. All right, but now for the exciting part. What did this thing look like on the inside? So I recorded myself taking it apart. I went ahead and sprayed some foaming solvent into both ends of the little bird and let it sit for about 45 minutes before I attempted to take the baffles out. As you can see, the last baffle at the end was relatively easy to get out by hand. So was the subsequent baffle. Just to make things a little quicker, went ahead and grabbed the impact driver, hooked our little bird tool up to it to zip the other baffles out. Our little bird tool does have 1/2-inch wrench flats on the back. So if you have your own 1/2-inch socket that you can hook up to an impact driver, you can do this yourself. When I got to the blast baffle, it was a little bit more difficult to get out. Naturally, with this kind of abuse, the amount of buildup on the threads inside the little bird was pretty extreme. And because our baffles are threaded like taps, I went ahead and drilled one of the other baffles in all the way back down to the first baffle in order to clean off those threads. Once I did that, I was finally able to zip that blast baffle out relatively easy. After getting her apart, I went ahead and gave the dirty bird a cursory cleaning. Nothing extreme, it was still pretty dirty, but we wanted to do one more test. After reassembling, we went ahead and threaded it onto a 10.5-inch 5.56 machine gun. Now once again, this is a pretty extreme test. These are rated up to 5.7, but it'd be pretty irresponsible to shoot 223 regularly through your little bird. What we did was some 5-round bursts. The dirty bird did come out of the 2 5-round bursts relatively unscathed. There was a little bit of damage to the baffles. There was also an interesting phenomenon that happened on the 5th round of both strings. So what happened on the 5th round of both of those strings of fire? Go ahead and leave us a comment and tell us what you think happened. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll tell you what we think happened. So the moral of the story with the little bird is that with the regular cleaning intervals of every 300 to 500 rounds, you're not gonna have any problem getting your baffles out. It's super easy to clean and it will stand up to a lot of abuse. It's a really rugged can. If you take good care of it, you're never going to have degrading performance like you saw in our abusive test. We got some more exciting videos coming up. Please watch out for those. We'll see you in the field or on the range sometime.